Evaluation of multiple myeloma. So in the evaluation of multiple myeloma, it is simply a part of the spectrum of plasma cell proliferative disorders. So it's simply a part of the so this is simply a part of the spectrum of the plasma cell disorders. So the concept is restated on the part of the spectrum of plasma cell proliferative disorders. Concept is restated on National Comprehensive Cancer Network guidelines. So the disease is divided into MGUS, monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, smoldering myeloma, asymptomatic, or multiple myeloma, which is symptomatic. So treatment management of each category are vastly different, and correct identification and diagnosis of multiple myeloma are paramount. So when concern for multiple myeloma arises, there are several approaches for screening and diagnosis. So what are the different approaches for screening and diagnosis? So the guidelines recommend the following diagnostic studies. So first is complete blood count with differential and platelet count. So we get a CBC and we evaluate for anemia. We also get a platelet count, blood urea, nitrogen, creatinine, electrolytes, albumin, calcium levels, LDH and beta-2 microglobulin. We get a LDH, beta-2 microglobulin. We get a serum immunoglobulins, and we get a serum protein electrophoresis and serum immunofixation electrophoresis. So serum immunoglobulins, serum protein electrophoresis, and serum immunofixation electrophoresis. And then urine, 24-hour proteinuria. Then we have this urine protein electrophoresis and urine protein as well as urine immunofixation electrophoresis will be done for these patients. And then we do a serum free light chain assay, whole body low dose CT or PET CT, and unilateral bone marrow aspirate and biopsy, including the we get a immunohistochemistry and a flow cytometry and cytogenetics. So unilaterally we do a bone marrow aspirate and biopsy and immunohistochemistry and flow cytometry and cytogenetics. So plasma cell fish. So we have to look for these abnormalities. So deletion of 13, deletion of 17, 13, translocation 4, 14, 11, 14, fluorescent in situ hybridization technique. We evaluate all the chromosomal abnormalities 4, 14, 11, 14, 14, 16, 1q21 and 1p abnormality. So historically we have diagnosed. So how we diagnose this multiple myeloma? If clonal bone marrow plasma cells were greater than or equal so if we do a bone marrow and if plasma cells equal than 10% on bone marrow biopsy, plasma cell should be greater than 10%, or if a biopsy proven plasma cytoma was present. In addition, so plasma cells in the bone marrow will be greater than or equal to 10%, and there should be a CRAB criteria. So CRAB criteria means calcium level will be greater than 1 milligram higher than the upper limit of normal, or it will be greater than 11 milligrams per deciliter. So how much will be the calcium? 1 milligram per deciliter above the upper limit, or 11 milligrams per deciliter. Renal insufficiency, creatinine greater than 2 milligrams per deciliter, and creatinine clearance less than 40 ml per minute. So renal insufficiency will be there, creatinine greater than 2 milligrams per deciliter, and creatinine clearance less than 40 ml per minute. anemia, HP less than 10 gram per deciliter, or hemoglobin greater than 2 gram per deciliter below the lower limit of normal, lower limit, not upper limit, and one or more CRAB criteria, bone osteolytic bone lesions on skeletal radiogram, CT or skeletal radiography, CT or PET CT. So punched out, round and radiolucent lesions. So how are the lesions? Punched out, round and radiolucent lesions. So while this set of criteria identified the majority of cases requiring treatment, but many were missed. So because of this, in November 2014, the International Myeloma Working Group, so because of this, in November 2014, the International Myeloma Working Group identified other factors. So they are associated with an 80% higher risk of developing myeloma related organ damage within 2 years. So the following were added to the CRAB criteria. Other factors also, within 2 years there is a 80% risk of developing myeloma related organ damage. So if bone marrow plasma cells equal to 60% and involved by uninvolved serum free light chain ratio greater than or equal to 100, bone marrow plasma cells equal to 60%, involved or uninvolved serum free light chain ratio greater than or equal to 100, and abnormal MRI is abnormal with more than one focal lesion. MRI is abnormal. How many lesions? Greater than one focal lesion, and each lesion greater than 5 mm. And each lesion greater than 5 mm that were often missed on previous skeletal surveys. So these were often missed on previous skeletal surveys. So now the presence of any CRAB criteria or any of these 3 additional criteria, presence of any CRAB criteria or any of these 3 additional criteria justifies the diagnosis and therapy, and it is certainly more sensitive and identifies more of the cases needing treatment. So this will definitely identify more of the cases needing treatment. So this new set of diagnostic criteria is often referred to as SLIM CRAB. So this criteria, it is SLIM CRAB. Skeletal survey, involved in uninvolved free light chain ratio, and bone marrow. And treatment or management. So what is the treatment or management? So initial management should involve evaluation for any acute issues that must be stabilized immediately. So some of these they include isotonic saline for volume expansion. If there is hypercalcemia, we can give this calcitonin, and we can also give this bisphosphonates to address the severe hypercalcemia. Calcitonin and bisphosphonates. And if significant renal dysfunction is noted, medical optimization, that is fluid status should be adjusted, nephrotoxic agents should be avoided, and renal dose adjustment of medication should be done. And if severe renal failure is there, and patient should be taken for hemodialysis. And spinal cord compression resulting from vertebral fracture or plasmacytoma can also be seen, and it is a medical emergency that should be managed aggressively by neurosurgery or orthopedic consultation and possible radiation therapy. In the rare instance that hyperviscosity is diagnosed, plasmapheresis should be completed. So if hyperviscosity is diagnosed, plasmapheresis should be done, and if there is a vertebral fracture, it's a medical emergency, neurosurgery and orthopedic consultation, and possibly radiation therapy has to be given. So once stabilized, so we are giving fluids, we are giving all the hypercalcemia, we have treated fractures. After stabilization, the patient's treatment plan is driven by the risk stratification and transplant eligibility. So whether is transplant eligible. So a patient's disease can fall into one of the two categories, okay, high or standard risk multiple myeloma. So we have to take into the disease will fall into two categories. So what are the two categories? It's a high or it's a standard risk multiple myeloma. So high risk means on the fish we can see this T1416, 1416, 1420, 17P13, 414 or 1Q gain. So if it is a high risk, no, it's defined by 1416, 1420, 17P13, 414 or 1Q gain. So standard risk will demonstrate either trisomies or 11, 14 or 614. So 14 is coming this side, okay, right side. So this standard risk means either trisomies 11, 14 or 614, and transplant eligibility is made on a case by case basis, but typically patients who are over 77 years old, they have the cirrhosis or an ECOG performance status of 3 or 4, or have this NYHA class 3 or 4 heart failure, or typically deemed transplant ineligible, greater than 77 years, having cirrhosis, and the Eastern Cooperative Oncology Group performance status of 3 or 4, or NYHA 3 or 4 heart failure, or deemed transplant ineligible. So patients who are fit for transplant, no, what they'll receive is they'll receive induction therapy over 3 or 4 months. So what will they receive? Induction therapy over 3 or 4 months to decrease the tumor burden. So we give this induction therapy to decrease the tumor burden. So this will be followed by peripheral blood stem cell mobilization and harvesting. So we are decreasing the tumor burden. Then what we are doing? We are mobilizing the stem cells and we are harvesting them, and then we are planning for a autologous stem cell transplant. So this will improve the overall and progression free survival. So this autologous stem cell transplant, no, it can be performed early after recovery from stem cell collection, or it's delayed at the time of the first relapse. And so this autologous stem cell autologous transplantation can be performed early after recovery from stem cell collection, or we can also delay it at the time of the first relapse. So after completing autologous stem cell transplantation, patient will be placed onto a maintenance therapy until disease progression or based